If you worked with some amazing people, from design to product to growth, from startups to large enterprises, you probably got to see how they've turned their ideas into innovations, their improvements to best practices, and create a repeatable winning formula. Hi, I'm Pradeep, and welcome to the Three Keys podcast, where I talk with creators, builders, growers, people that keep reinventing themselves. This podcast focuses on the lessons they've learned along the way and boil them down to three keys they credit for their success. And that's what I love about our conversations. I think from the very first one to even talking about this topic, because it's always double clicking, it's always digging deeper. It's always about how can we improve what we can find out? What are the
Great.
different data points that we can collect? And it's that ideation and that partnership that you bring when we dig into those conversations. That's what I love about speaking with you, and that's the biggest reason why I wanted to ask you to be on this with me. So thank you for making time. I know as an entrepreneur, it's not easy. You're juggling 10 things, you're wearing 10 hats. You are like a parent to both your company and your employees. I've been there.
Yeah.
So in the middle of all that, for you to take time and speak with me, I appreciate it.
And I appreciate this. I always love speaking with you as well, Pradeep. And like you're saying, we always seem to come up with, new insights and new inspiration. So always a pleasure. And love also talking through, different creative ideas and concepts. And obviously, how do we actually optimize on those things? So I find that fascinating and obviously a great partner to do it with. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. So for our listeners, who is Mika?
Well, how much time do you have?
Take all the time
Um,
you need.
awesome. Well, first of all, I'm Mika Kayt. I'm the CEO of Outgage. Our company is split between Colorado and Israel, very, very similar to where I split my time. So works out well. A little bit about Outgage. We're pretty much an expert all-in-one B2B direct mail platform. We help enterprise marketers boost engagement rates through creating, delivering, measuring, and optimizing their direct mail campaigns. And Pradeep, I know that you and I spoke a couple of times about the story of how Outgage became Outgage. So if that's of interest, happy to talk
Oh
through
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Okay. So
There's always a journey from where you started, who you are, to how Outgate is born, and no entrepreneur story to creating the company is boring. So I love it. Go, please.
that's true. The question, how much time do we have to go into details? But I'll try to wrap it up and put it a little tighter for the minutes that we have. But to shorten it up, the beginning of Outgage, I would say, in my opinion, really started from the last startup I worked on, and it was called Take and Make. And what brought us into Outgage today, Take and Make originally was a do-it-yourself platform. We were working with super creative creators, so YouTubers, Etsy sellers. We were helping them pretty much bring their do-it-yourself instructional videos to life and help them. We were helping them merchandise and sell to their subscribers do-it-yourself kits to go along with their videos. And because the way our platform was already built to create really creative things, we were convinced by one of our investors to start looking into corporate gifting and being their creative
Hmm.
solutions. So because of that, we were able to also sort of convince them to do a tutorial to go along with our first ever corporate gift that we did. I remember it until today. It was a Zen garden, and the general manager pretty much showed the audience how to put it together, which was great. Um, what that really opened up for us is the world of corporate gifting and being more creative around that. We started looking and working with larger companies, and we were working with all sorts of departments and functions. So it was HR, account executives, executive assistants, marketers, and more. And what we noticed, what I won't forget ever is the first campaign where it really hit us that marketers had this huge pain point around corporate gifting. So Airbnb, and I might have shared this with you already, Pradeep, so sorry
Yeah.
for double sharing, but Airbnb
It's a
had
good story, though.
it's interesting because I think that I'll get to the piece where it really hit us. So they had a new part of their platform. It was called Living in a Treehouse. You might remember it, and they partnered with Disney to pretty much spread the word for this new part of their platform. And Disney was coming out with the Jungle Book at the time, so for the premiere, they did mutual giveaways, and they created a 3D puzzle through our platform. And it was an exact replica of a treehouse on their platform with their Airbnb logo etched into it. The box was, of course, a custom design, and it tied together really nice. And we got they got some great feedback on how creative it was. And I think what's interesting is that what really caught our team's eye is that they added to the postcard a promotional code. And we were like, wait, a gift and a promotional code? Like, why do you need to give so many good things? So what we understood and what we learned from it was that what they were trying to do is not only, promote what they were doing, but also measure the campaign and see how well that went over and transfer it into the digital world and into their platform and move that over. So in any case, I came from marketing. It really appealed to me. I understood that they were looking not only to scale out the creative part, but also measure it. So during that time, we had to have spoken with, well over 50 to 100 marketers in those upcoming couple of months. And then it really hit us that marketers were just using gifting experiences and direct mail as a whole as a growth hacking tactic. But their growth,
It's
sorry.
interesting, right? When you think about direct mail, for me, the perception is, the old brochures that still come in. I get offers for things that are completely irrelevant, and has a
How
promo
much do
code
you
in
like it when
there.
you get a brochure, Pradeep? Do you notice all the brochures that you receive?
Because I mean my mail stack goes this high, but the relevant mail is only so much. Rest of it is all, and I look at it. It just surprises me that they send stuff to me for teenage kids. I mean, I have a 6-year-old. What is? I'm 43. I have a 6-year-old. There's nobody in between. So why am I getting, brochures for teenagers? It's just so that's my perception of direct mail. So when we started talking about, what you think direct mail is, what it can do, and the fact that, there's a QR code that helps measure uh, adoption of that type of marketing, it really brought to me, this. It opened my eyes, and I realized that a lot of things that are no code businesses back then, are kind of becoming modern. They're being modernized and they're being used more effectively. And it's
Really good point.
and that's great that you're looking at that. So what in what particularly is Outgage solving?
So first of all, I think you hit on a huge point, which we should definitely, also stagger on, which is relevance, right? Like know who your audience is. You know this as a marketer. Why aren't others thinking about it before they send you a brochure for teenagers, right? So in terms of what we're solving, I guess we were lucky in the fact that the marketers sort of came to us after a while, because corporate gifting is such a huge world. When you really understand that this isn't only a nice to have, but it's a huge pain. And I'm assuming that you went through this, but would love to hear your horror stories. I'm sure, we've heard 1,000. But it's hard to scale, to your point of modernizing. Like, how do you create something that's actually unique, that stands out, that isn't just a copy paste of something else, that, that isn't the same catalog item, and has not necessarily anything to do with your audience, or, so how do you do that? So how do you think through that creative? How do you scale it out? How do you tie it back online? Because now you also need to make it actionable and measurable. So you, as a marketer, you might be totally bought into the effects of gifting and the magic of that. And as a person, it's a different question, right? Like, in your day-to-day life, when you get a package as opposed to a brochure, how do you react to that? Because I think that that's super interesting as well. And then on a business level, who are you really buying from today? Is it from the business? Is it more people to people? How do we bring that magic into business in a way that we also get buy-in from our team, we get budget, we get the resources, we get the time? Because this could be a whole new marketing channel if it wasn't so hard to do, if it didn't cost so much, if we knew the hardships that go into it, and if it was streamlined. So that's, in a nutshell, and we can get into examples into why and the different factors, but that's pretty much what we do. We take that pain point out. We give marketers that one platform that streamlines over 40 manual steps, that allows them to not have a cap on creativity, that, we do have also both services and solutions to help you through that creativity. I hope you'll agree on this, Pradeep. So,
Yeah,
this is
you
my
do, and
question.
that's where our discussions have always been fun and interesting, right? Because I have to share with you my goals, which are actually fluid. What I want to achieve, who I want to target, and why, how I want them to interact with us, right? So
Yeah.
it's not just a question of slapping on, a website for direct mail. It's understanding not only who the audience is, the relevance, and the outcome that you're trying to create, right? So
So,
is it a process problem, or is it an industry problem, or is it a function problem? Like, what do you think the reasons were that up until now there was so much difficulty, to simplify this, to bring efficiency into a function like this?
well, there's so many reasons to why, but if I really need to simplify it, um, at the end of the day, marketing has evolved so much. ABM strategies have been taking over. But if we take it even a step before that, just digitization and scale and making things accessible, right? So if you really want to get creative, and again, I don't know if you've gone through this, I can tell you that I've heard this a few dozens of times at least, before allowing people to scale creative campaigns. A lot of the times they would build ad hoc creative teams and actually build things in their office, send them out, copy paste tracking numbers, follow up, see if that package has arrived. If it has arrived, they were at the mercy of their SDRs or account managers to follow up with you. Hey, Pradeep, did you get our package? So, an overall just really painful experience for the poor marketer who had to put this together. The salespeople who's being nagged, the person who's receiving it, who isn't really receiving a user experience that they're used to from the online. So if we look at all the other marketing channels, if you want to click through the email, you'll click through the email. Why isn't it that simple with direct mail? And that's where we're trying to bridge that gap between offline and online and make that experience simpler. So for the marketers who don't want to be, fulfillment centers, sourcers, they might be creative, they might be a little less creative, they might need help with that. And then tying that back online and actually giving it attribution, actionability, and measurability. that's where we need to help them to have those tools that are so similar to the digital worlds. Because, otherwise, to answer your question, there's at least 40 manual steps. That's why it's hard for them. It's instead of doing a few clicks or, getting on the phone or so that's really, a big piece of it. So I would say just the creative aspect alone is huge, because you don't want to be that umpteenth company who's sending the same mailer. And we can touch upon like one of my, and this is actually sharing a huge secret right now, but when people say, we want something cool, and they say that to our customer success team and all of that, then you probably know this from the other side. We'll come in and we'll break down, what does cool mean to you, right?
Yeah.
What does your, because if we say something cool, like maybe if we're sending it to somebody on the R&D team, they're all gadgety and they love those types of things, as opposed to, maybe somebody from a different team who might actually appreciate something else. And based on the character of the business with them, and what you know about them and what that message is that you're trying to get across, that's what makes it cool, right? We have a lot of criteria that, based on the data we've collected until now, we can sort of help guide through with our customers to say, this is probably going to be considered cool, or this is going to get more engagement, because people appreciate also thoughtfulness. And I think that sometimes, unfortunately, gets lost through like quick scaling out, right? So
Yeah.
if we can plan through this, if we can create something that's cool for you, great. If we don't have the time, that's also fine. But then let's expect, a different level of coolness that we can optimize over time if we have that time to sort of test things out, and that's where the data comes in. So I know
Yeah,
that we're
terms
skipping
like terms like cool are so vague though. It can mean so many things to so many people.
so
One of
many
my
things.
last interviews was about creative direction, and again, design means so many things to so many people. As with anything in marketing, the first question is why. Why are you doing this? What do you want out of it? I think this is a perfect segue for me to ask then, for people that want to build a customer engagement function, what are the three keys to engagement marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I can give you my thoughts from the direct mail perspective, especially. And, looking through it and just working with so many marketers and having our team work with so many marketers, I think that they'll agree that this is similar to other channels as well, since we're trying to, help them sort of work in as similar ways as possible with direct mail.
Yeah.
So, uh, if I would need to break it down, I would say that the three keys, and I always look at this sort of, I'm on the one hand, I like to think that I'm creative, and on the other hand, I'm very methodological. So I like breaking down things into, plans and seeing how they look on graphs. So the way I think about it is, if we want to get engagement as that, sort of diagonal in our graph, then the X and Y would be like creativity and data. Because I think when you can combine those two things to the maximum and really think those things through, and we can break what those mean, then you get the most engagement. And then the third thing, in order to make that happen as an enabler, is the resources. So like we sort of touched upon before, like, it's great if you want to get as creative as you want, and you want to do this huge gifting experience. But if you don't have the time, the money, the human resources to do that, then how is that actually going to happen? So we could also, and you probably know this, we're more than happy to take whatever resources you have in
Yeah.
reality and sort of help you work through that and navigate that. We understand that there's that reality to start off with and optimize through. But that has to be a tie-in, because we can't just go nuts with whatever we want on the creative level and then say, oh no, it's going to take 2 months and it's going to be 2 times the cost that we wanted per person. Then what did we do there? And just to break down creativity, because I think that that's a huge word, and people want to be creative, and marketers, especially, I think the best of marketers that we know and work with, similarly to you and your team, um, they're never just 100% creative or 100% data driven, right? They have to be some sort of mix, and that's
Yeah.
the unicorns that marketers are. So creativity, it's not just about, that gift item. I would even beg to say, based on what we've been seeing through planning out and guiding, that's probably one of the last pieces of the whole puzzle. Um, but creativity is about, what is the message that you're trying to bring across? How does your brand come across here, right, in the best way? Who's your target audience, like we talked about before? And then how do we tie this campaign together? Because at the end of the day, direct mail, like any other marketing channel, is another channel. So the content matters and how we send it matters. And that's all
Mm-hmm.
part of that creative thought process. We've seen two-part mailers and locked mailers and different ways to, intrigue people, but it made sense for those campaigns. And we only knew it made sense because of the full funnel visibility and data collection that you can really attribute, that you can test through, that you can optimize. Without that, we can guess that it worked, or say,
Yeah.
hey, we got good feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the way you started off by saying it's one part of many things in marketing, right? So whether you're looking at ABM, you're looking at SEO, whether you're looking at direct mail, none of these initiatives can exist in isolation. They have to be in conjunction with some other part of the company's initiatives, whether it's a broader brand building initiative or whether it's related to a single event, right? So that's where the creative piece comes in. Like you said, who's your target audience? Why are you doing this? How do you want the engagement to build out? Those are great, but how do you measure the data that you collect? What kind of data do you collect, and how do you measure it? And like, because you need to create that feedback loop, which did not exist in the previous version of the no code version of the business.
Right. I mean, the no code was like, you know, call us, or we'll call you and answer us, or please, write a hashtag on social media, which is great for awareness. And if that was the goal, then maybe that's good enough, right? But we're seeing all sorts of goals right now, since direct mail is being adopted along the whole marketing funnel. So to answer your question, I think that there's always more data to be collected. But what we try to do is, as each touch point, collect the data that we can in order to improve it. So it depends on the workflow, of course, of the campaign. At the end of the day, you want to track, and if it's a digital gifting experience or if it's a physical gifting experience. So there comes in, ETA and actual delivery, when it's being delivered, when it will be delivered, any returns that happen. On our side, we do try to help optimize for reach. So we give some scrubbing tools for addresses and stuff like that. But in the case that the campaign was already sent out, ETA, tracking and delivery, page views, who went into the page at what time, from what device, obviously within the premise of the privacy requirements,
Hmm.
and then who did what call to action, and it could be vice versa depending on the workflow, and then tying that back into the entire marketing stack. So I think what's really important when people think through direct mail is that it's cool, right? Going back to the cool, it could be cool. It could be a growth hacking tactic. But also, if you want to optimize it, you surely can at the end of the day. And we also are able to integrate into the full marketing stack. So it could be from marketing automation platforms into CRMs, just giving that full visibility to anybody involved in the campaign within the company to be able to react like they should. And then, from there, you could do a lot of things. You can A/B test, you can copy paste campaigns, you can change up different parts of it. It could be the gift
Got it.
item, it could be the messaging, it could be the call to action. So really, it could be, very variable depending on how big that campaign is and how much statistical significance you have for each segment. Um, but I would beg to say the more data, the better, because there's always a way to optimize. Do we do follow-ups? When do we do follow-ups, right? So
That I think those are data points that we missed in the past. Like how many times, if somebody doesn't, want to be bothered or doesn't want that swag, whatever gift you're sending them, there's no point in repeatedly pushing them to do it. How
like,
many
get your
days between?
gift.
Yeah, no. For the last one, we were trying to figure out, okay, if we open up the, gift portal on Thursday, when do we close it? Do we close it in 2 days? Do we send them one reminder? Do we send them two reminders? I think those are things that we can definitely use, uh, you know, help on, right? I think that's where Outgate has been really a great partner for us. All right, so we have creativity, uh, and then you use data to figure out, how well it's going, how to tweak it. And the third thing we touched on earlier, which is resources. So how
Yes.
do you use resources to then execute on your ideas?
So, if we really need to think through what comes first, it's the resources, because let's be real, right? At the end of the day, it's, everything's great. We can think through whatever we want. We can measure
Marketing
everything.
budget is unlimited.
Exactly. Let's send people, unicorn planes and see what happens. But um, also not true. There's a cap, and that's also interesting. I think that what we found over time is also through the data, because at the end of the day, not everybody's going to be happy all the time, right? So
Yeah.
maybe it's not always worth sending the most expensive gift. Not everybody, people don't necessarily want to feel bribed. There's also like a psychology to gifting. So
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
there's a lot of criteria that goes into really optimizing your campaign for your target audience. And I think that that's where, hopefully your direct mail partner also is helpful if you have a direct mail partner. And to that point with the resources, it's important to know, what are we doing this for? Like you said, the goal before, right? That's going to help us with the creativity, but also how much time do we have to execute this? Because if we don't have that much time, let's find things that do make sense within this time frame, within this budget, for the capacity of the people who can actually execute it, right? Some people want to go deep into integration. Some people are like, do we have to do integrations? Because, our marketing ops team, we're not ready for it yet, da da da. So like we need to be we need to figure out there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of shareholders that have their own capacity and priorities. So I think that that's where reality meets that creative and data and everything that we want to do in that great vision. And it's funny to me because I don't know if you know this already, Pradeep, so this might be a new fun fact, but on our team, my twin brother is our head of operations.
I did not know that.
So I always laugh and I say, it's really that mix of like me wanting to take the company to, to the vision and to new heights and all of that. And then Daniel, our head of operations, like bringing it down to earth, like step by step, but here's the time frame and here's, what we can do and da da da. So I think that that's the balance and the yin and yang that goes through every campaign and every, team, hopefully. And I know that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have it on your team as well, so we
yes,
can get into that.
yes, yeah. I think that is a conversation, in itself. Hey, each of these is right. Creativity is like you can't have your head, up in the clouds. Um, and for data, yeah, more data, the better your decision points are. But still there's a limit to everything. You have to be careful about what you collect. You have to be mindful of personal information. Like
Yeah.
we're collecting addresses, and that's extremely private and that's personal. So you have to provide the respect that it deserves. So there's a lot to it, and I think each can be its own conversation,
Yeah,
for
well,
sure.
it definitely can, and I think that these times have shown us, to what extent, how mindful we need to be, and not only through the GDPR requirements, because that's sort of easy now, right? You allow the people to actually decide if they want to
Yeah,
get a gift or not. You know this with us. You could do landing pages and let them choose if they want to get something to their address or if they want a digital good. There's ways around it. Um, but also, I think it's been interesting to see how much people actually want that personal touch in their lives, especially when they don't have that interaction, on a business to business level. But that could be a totally different conversation. Besides interacting with your 6-year-old and and people in your household,
yeah, yeah,
getting that thoughtful personal touch, at least from the feedback that we received, sometimes does make that difference between just an email inviting you to an event without that personal touch and without, that extra sort of push. Hey, we thought about you. We'd like you to come and we're thankful for it. Than, just sending it and like having another Zoom meeting without or WebEx,
yeah, yeah. Oh, this is great. Thank you, Mika. So we're looking at for improved engagement marketing through direct mail, creativity, data, and resources, which pretty much applies to everything in marketing, but still, it applies to direct mail too, and it is effective. I think the last time we sent coffee, somebody took a picture and sent it to me, and I said and said, I love coffee. I have like 3 different coffee makers at home. This coffee is amazing. Thank you so much. I did not expect this. Like, of course, you filled out the address, so you know it was coming, but still, I did not expect to receive this. This is great. It feels good. It feels good. And you sort of make friends, through the brand, and those relationships last.
Oh, 100%. I, first of all, I'm glad to hear that piece of feedback. I think that the qualitative feedback is not less important. I think that that's what really gains these longer term, relationships and wins and thinking that extra step, right? So, which could also be measured in the long term, seeing,
Yeah,
who we did interact with, who we didn't. But those qualitative points of feedback makes it also just more fun. Like, that they really liked it, it resonated with them. And at the end of the day, they want to work with somebody that it's fun to work with. You want to work with somebody. I want to work, like, we enjoy working together, hopefully. I'm going to talk on your
yeah,
behalf
yeah.
right
We do,
now.
we
But
do. That's why
so,
we're here now.
you're going to try to work less with people that you don't enjoy working with. So, I just love the fact at some point, in some sense, our team and Outgage, we get to play Santa. We just let people send more gifts to more people, and really not let go of their brand and their message. And hopefully, when you sent that coffee and they liked it, it was something that you were proud of, right? It was.
Yes, yes. As a coffee lover myself, the fact that made them happy, and my previous life was as a restaurateur, and when people enjoyed food, it's just the best feeling. So it brought back some of those good memories. Thank you for your time. As always, love chatting. Love learning about you. Love learning about the background and what inspires you. And I'm happy to help any way I can. I love working with you guys, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Okay, sounds good. And you need to tell me about your story because like that's a big leap. I want to hear it.
Yeah, big leap. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Next time.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.